Hi, everybody. I'm Dawn Janice, and this is my very good friend, Wendy Lee Baldwin Hargett. And we are the hosts of Lightweavings Podcast, where we ask that question, what has dimmed your light? And are you ready to do something about it? Sometimes the topics might be a little uncomfortable, but that is just a sign that you are ready for a breakthrough on that topic. So get ready. It's time to break through. Hey, Wendy, how's it going?
Hi, Dawn. It's going great. How are you? So good to see you.
Good to see you too. We took a little break because we both had personal things we were taking care of last week, but we're back with a vengeance.
Yes, we
So, yeah.
are.
And we want to talk about a topic today that's really wonderful to talk about, and it is abundance. Abundance. It doesn't always mean money, but money's part of it. Yeah. So when I think of abundance, I think about one of the things that I do. Wendy, I told you that I do this is at the beginning of every month, I have this little template that is a check from the universe. Literally, it's called the Bank of the Universe at the top, and there's a place to sign it, or it's signed by the universe. There's a memo. You fill it out like a regular old-fashioned check, which some of you young people may not know what those are. And I sleep with it under my pillow. It's usually pretty tattered by the end of the month, and I have it dated for the end of the month. Just a certain amount that I'm driven to put on the check for the month, something that I would like to manifest during that month. And it's just a way for me to focus on abundance, get excited every night when I put my head on that pillow. Do you ever do anything like that?
I have done it. I have done it a couple of times. And honestly, I did something that I keep saying I'm going to get back into, and I kind of forget. But yeah, I think it's a really good idea. One of the things that I like to do is to speak it as if it's already here.
Mm. Yes. One of the first manifestation tools that I ever was had my attention brought to is you remember the movie The Secret, of course.
Oh, that was a game changer for me. Yeah,
Me
that
too.
changed my life
Me
forever.
too. And they talk a lot about creating abundance in that documentary.
Mhm.
And they had published this little book, this little brown book. It's adorable, and it's The Secret, and it's a gratitude journal. And
Mhm.
so it's not a very big format, so there's not a lot of space to write, but it's a daily thing, and you utilize both sides of when you open up the book, both sides of the paper, the left and the right.
Mhm.
On the left side, you write what you're grateful for today,
Mhm.
right? What's happening in the now and what you're grateful for real. On the other side of the page is what you're grateful for in the future, as if it's today.
Mm.
So you write in present tense about how grateful that I am. I write what I'm grateful for. Um, let's say 10 years down the road. This is what's happened. This is what's happening in my life. And I'm so grateful for that. And just to really feel into that, because that's really what the secret is to feel those feelings, not just say the words or have the thought.
Yeah, I didn't know that there was a journal to go with that. I'm going to have to check that out. I like that idea of having one specifically for that. I have like a million journals. So I have all kinds of entries in all of them, and they can be kind of scattered throughout the house. But I like that idea of having one specific journal for that. Yeah, yeah, and you're so spot on. It is about the feeling. And that is, how do I want to say this? We get so used to not feeling
Mm.
and just being numb. And when you allow yourself to get into that feeling of that gratitude of it already being done, that is just so huge. They say that our energy, our feelings, they're magnetic. And so that's what brings to us more of what we want.
Agreed, absolutely. Another concept that I've been aware of lately, I'm sure some other great thought leader, showed it to me on some video or something, but is that money flows. It flows through us. So we receive it, we give it. Money flows, and abundance, therefore, is the same thing. Money is one type of abundance, of course, in our
Mhm.
material world, but abundance flows. It is a never-ending flow.
Mhm.
So it's not limited, and it's okay to give it. and to have that abundant giving attitude in life, I think creates that flow. It's when we are afraid to spend, afraid to give, that fear is a block for abundance in my life. That's what I've noticed.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree. There are some thoughts out there that are already built in, like organized religion. They want you to donate. Of course, that's to keep the church going, but it's also keeping that money flow, with the concept of yes, you give and you will receive. And yeah, it absolutely. And it's easy to get into that fear state of not wanting to give if money is tight. I have seen some people who have like the least amount of money be some of the most generous donors, more so than people that have what, most of us would perceive as a lot of money. And I think that's really interesting. I know it goes both ways, but that has always been a really fascinating concept to me, that often that, and they're doing it on trust. They're doing on trust that whatever it is that they give, they will receive back,
Yes,
tenfold. And it happens.
it does happen. I feel like both good and bad, what we put out, we receive back tenfold.
Hmm.
Yeah. And abundance doesn't just mean like currency. It is love.
Hmm.
It is friends. It is uh, a rich community, and not rich in money, but rich in sharing and love and everything that community does for each other, protection, all the above, strength. Uh, that all of that is abundance as well. So, uh, and then another way to look at it's more than just money is that we can, if I put out there that check under my pillow is, let's say it's $5,000, and something happens during the month where I saved $100 on something, that is inflow of money. That is abundance,
Hmm.
because I'm not putting it out. It is coming in. It is saving. That's another way of looking at receiving.
Hmm.
So, and I'm like a Goodwill shopper. It's so fun for me. And if there's something in particular that I want, I usually go to Goodwill first and take a look and see if something that I'm looking for is in really good shape and it's, kind of the brand that I want.
Hmm.
And when I find it, I'm like, thank you, universe. Like it's a score, right? I got this really nice juicer that I was looking at on Amazon, and it was like a $400 juicer, and I got it for $20. I was really excited about that. So,
Yeah.
that's saving a lot of money.
That's huge. I'm a Goodwill person too. I haven't been in a long time, but I was raised that way just because we didn't have a lot of money. But I have no shame in going to the Goodwill. I like to have a good bargain too. And also garage sales. You can get some amazing things at garage sales, and that's abundance, sure.
It is, and it's abundance for the earth because we're putting less of a carbon footprint on the earth by recycling. When we buy used items, that's recycling. So it doesn't go into a landfill.
Good
Yeah.
point.
Yeah. So abundance. It can be sunshine.
Mhm.
Like I know you're up in the Northwest where you're not Seattle, so you're probably not, it's not as dreary there. You're in Olympia, but
Oh, it's dreary.
it's
It's cold. Yeah, I have the heater on today. It's gray. That-
I'm wearing a turtleneck, not because it's cold here, but because I wanted to. I'm trying to force fall a little bit here. It's been a really hot summer,
uh,
but it's also been monsoony, which is kind of dreary. And I'm a spoiled Arizona girl. I want the sun to shine at all times. So
mhm.
that's what I moved here for. So when there's a beautiful day, actually the temperature is lower. It's like in the 70s and 80s, and up into the 90s right now. It's just really perfect here. And
Mm,
I consider that abundance,
yeah.
because then if you consider the alternative, that's a gift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we certainly have an abundance of rain here. And I'm actually grateful for it. I grew up here and I moved away when I was 20, and I swore I would never come back. I honestly didn't know that every state didn't rain all the time. And so, yeah, I never wanted to come back. But since I have come back for various reasons, I've actually started to appreciate the abundance of rain here.
Mhm.
For one, it saves on the water bill because water is very expensive to, try to keep your lawn without turning into dirt.
Mhm.
And it makes an abundance of trees and flowers, and blackberries are huge here. They're absolutely everywhere.
I love
And so
Washington State for their berries. So pretty.
yeah, it's really good. I love to make a fresh blackberry pie, go pick it, wash it, and bake it. Um, yeah, I think of food as abundance, time with family and friends as an abundance. It's abundance of joy, it's abundance of connection.
Agreed. You know, really what we are looking for, all of us, is joy.
Yes.
That's kind of the end result. That's of what we want to accomplish in life, is to feel that joy. And it comes from so many different areas in our life. And
Mhm.
so it's kind of like the ultimate abundance is having that joy, because time creates, if we have extra time, then we can pursue things that we enjoy, like making a blackberry pie, for example. Can I come to your house? Because
Yes.
I'm a pie girl. I love pie.
Me too.
um, but all of that, all of that is gifts. All of that is a way to look at abundance. And then when we see it that way, of course, gratitude happens,
Mhm.
and then the magic happens.
Yeah.
We receive more of what we appreciate.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true. And, that reminds me, I've been going through my dad's things, since my dad moved into a home. And I came across a stack of thank you notes that he saved for my children when they were young. And it was just so cute going back. I have the two kids, and I was reading letters from both of them. I thought, first of all, I thought it was really precious that my dad saved them.
Oh,
And I wanted to share these with my kids. And I was talking to my son about it. And he's like, do you know how painful that was, to write those letters? Because the Baldwins were a big family, and then my side of the family was small, but so it was a lot of thank you notes for Christmas, birthdays. And I said, but you know what? It's the gratitude that got you more gifts next time.
mhm.
Because if you don't have the gratitude, people are going to say, oh, you know what? These guys don't appreciate that we're taking the time, spending the money, thinking about them, and they're going to just close it off. So it is really important, no matter how painful it might be as a kid. I understand that. As a kid, especially a kid who doesn't like to write or, do that kind of, or they'll be outside playing, right? What
Sure.
kid wouldn't? But yeah, it's that gratitude, and it's going to give you more. The gratitude, the universe is like people. It knows when it's appreciated, it's willing to do more.
Exactly. It is that appreciation.
Yeah.
I was telling you I had a list of icky things I had to do that I didn't want to do, so I kept procrastinating and putting them off and moving them down the calendar. Um, but it is so empowering to check those things off your list,
Hmm.
and then to recognize the abundance that comes from doing it. I think I've
Hmm.
told you recently that's happened. Things that I didn't want to address, and they have to do with money. I avoid money issues. I've just learned that about myself.
Hmm.
But when I face money issues head on, it's instant reward. There's
Hmm.
there's some type of abundance that happens from it. Not only does, you know, something happen, my bank account go up, but also that relief of not having that anxiety of that thing that I didn't want to do on my list
Oh
is,
yeah.
so it's a
Yeah.
double win when we actually address those things. So that's kind of the other side of this topic. It's like, is there something that has to do with money that you're avoiding because it's uncomfortable? Money has like this negative connotation in our world. At least a lot of us were brought up with those limiting beliefs around money.
Hmm.
And for me, it's something I don't like to talk about. It's something I don't want to look at. It's like I've been known to stick my head in the sand when it comes to money issues many times in my life. But what I've learned is that when I actually address it, go in with integrity, take the emotions out of it and address the money issue, there is a multitude of rewards that comes from that.
Yeah.
And that in itself is abundance for me to address that. But to release those negative feelings that were bothering me, that hurt my stomach, my gut area, my head, lack of sleep, all those things that worry and anxiety give us. When that's taken away, I'm grateful for that. That's a
Oh,
form of abundance.
well, it absolutely is an abundance of relief, that positive energy. I mean, that is huge. That's priceless. And I think, well, I know that there's so many people who have the same kind of gut issues and headaches and everything around money. I'm just kind of curious, would you be willing to share like some thoughts on anybody that was going through that anxiety around money? Like what are like one or two things that you do to help you to shift out of that fear state so that you can have that abundance of freedom around the money?
Yeah, it's something that I've been working on myself, and so it is a topic that I'm happy to talk about. Uh, of course, you know what I'm going to say. The first thing that I do is, well, I start with meditation, actually to get into a place and be in the present, and don't think about what was or what is about to be, but what is.
Mhm.
And then to get there and just feel myself breathe and to be grateful for the ability to breathe and just being in my body right now and here in a home that is safe and protected and actually kind of pretty. Um, it puts me in a relaxed state all by itself. It calms my nervous system down. And that's how I like to start, with something that does that: breathing, meditation, trying to get present and calm.
Mhm.
Um, from there, I usually like to journal about what came up for me as I was meditating, because even though we're trying to be present, thoughts come up. So to get it out again and put it on paper, and then to write a list of money due and money coming in,
Mhm.
and just taking a look at it, just actually looking at it,
Mhm.
actually opening mail. I've been guilty of not doing that in my younger days, just letting it pile up because I was scared to open the mail.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. When bills are coming in, it's almost like sticking your head in the sand and like denial, right? It's not almost like it is.
Right.
So actually looking at things, and then one at a time, take that money issue piece of paper or thing on your list and make a phone call.
Mm.
See what's behind it. If it's something that's a past due bill, make a phone call. People are, bill collectors and or organizations are usually more than willing to work with you if you are the one that initiates the call. Once again, that's empowering as well. It was your decision to make the phone call. It was your decision to do something about it.
Right.
And just take a look at from there. I just really take a look at all my finances and the possibilities. I like to write a list as well of ways that I can bring more income in. A list of 100, that's a lot.
Yes.
And so it takes some thinking, it takes some creativity, it takes some like out there stuff. But it's amazing when I do that, all the ways that I could bring in some money. I can sell a lot of things in my house if I wanted to. I can sell jewelry. I can, I'm a realtor, I'm a health coach, I'm a life coach. I do all kinds of events, things like that. I could go down the street and work at the restaurant. I've done that before. Um, I'm hireable. So that I know. Just to make a list of 100 things that you can do to make money. Actually, I'm going to credit Sarah Cannell here. She's an amazing coach, and she's the one that taught me that, a lot of us that, in a retreat that I went to. So, but it's a really great exercise. What about you? What do you do?
That sounds fantastic. What I do is I just get in touch with my emotions, what's under the fear, and just acknowledge what I am feeling. And I use some of my holistic healing tools. I'm all about where does these kinds of things start, because as you know, we inherit a lot of this anxiety around money. We inherit it from our parents, and it just becomes a program in us. Or if we've had a bad experience as an adult and we didn't complete the trauma, then it stays stuck in us, that energy, that fear. So I always like to go within and just find out, where did this start? I used to have terrible anxiety about going online and paying bills, even though I knew that there's plenty of money in the bank account. And to be honest, it took a while to get myself to the state that I could log on and know that all was well, because I just had such deep programming that there was not enough money and that we're going to have to scrimp and get by. And it can take some time to deprogram yourself and rewire your brain and your whole physical being, because it's more than just the emotions. I mean, and it's more than just the brain, it's the body memory as well. Like you're talking about what you feel in your gut and your head. So it's that whole reprogramming of all of it. So
Yeah,
that's what I like to do.
it's great. And so we're both talking about actually taking things out of us and looking at it.
Yeah.
And then once it's out, once we're looking at something, whether it be a limiting belief that we're taught about or a fear that we can't really identify until we actually think about it and like write it down or speak it,
Mm-hmm.
then it no longer has power over us.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And when you're something that I find really powerful is whenever you're feeling that kind of intense fear, is to ask yourself, what's the worst thing that could happen to you?
Mm,
Because it's like our primal brain goes to that survival instinct, wanting to, figure out how to survive. And
yeah,
so yeah, when you ask, what is the worst thing that could happen? What is the worst that could happen if you couldn't pay this bill? What is the worst thing that could happen if you didn't have quite as much money as you thought that you did? And then just get to that inner primal instinct of that fear, and then you can calm down that fear.
absolutely. Uh, I had an old boyfriend that used to say, well, they can't eat you. True. Okay.
Not anymore.
No, no. And there's no such thing as debtor's prison unless it's tax. That's
Right.
really, what's the worst thing that can happen?
Yeah.
So, you'll have to make payments for a while, probably, but
Yeah.
probably and that's not, it's just life.
Yeah.
It is. So good stuff. Yeah. So that abundance thinking, part of it is, being honest, being real, like what is, okay, so I have things that I have to pay. Okay, that's just normal life.
Hmm.
And then I started putting that in I have a paper daytimer that actually opens up to the week. And I like to stay organized that way. It helps me to write things down. It's pretty. I decorate it with stickers. It's fun. It's just how I roll. Um, but I started writing. I have a sticker book that's about finance. And so there's lists of bills, there's lists of money coming in, and I like to utilize those stickers to remind myself of it. And I'll put a smiley face beside it so to remind me to keep my attitude up. But that awareness and that recognition, acknowledgement, I think actually, I don't think, I know in my life actually creates more abundance in my life.
Hmm.
And it's a challenge. It's fun. It's exciting. It's like, okay, um, what creative way can I like to add creativity in there because it makes me feel like I'm doing an art project. What creative way can I address this issue that's going to make me feel good? And lo and behold, when I do that, more abundance then comes to me because money flows. Like I said earlier, we put it out, we pay that bill, it's coming back. And the Bible talks about tenfold, all big schools of thought talk about that. It's like there is always a reward if we're willing to acknowledge it. I'm willing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's I have this check under my pillow this month, and I think I told you this, that it's a big one. And I just found out that there's a possibility of that money coming in the next 6 months for exactly that amount. So even if it's not in my account on the date that I have on that check, I know that it's out there waiting for me.
Yeah, it is. And you know, what I'm hearing you say is you are very clear on what it is that you desire. And being clear on what you desire is part of the process too.
That is absolutely true. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Okay.
That clarity. What does that look like? How do we get clear?
That's a great question. You know, start with what is it that you desire? And just really give yourself time to contemplate what is important to you. What would make you happy? You know, going back to that state of joy, I believe that we are all here to remember how to be happy again. And so, what would make you happy? And you have decided what would make you happy. You've been very, very clear on that. And then just really feeling into that. I like to also add to that with the clarity that, you know, we've both have learned from other thought leaders, it's what we desire or something better.
Or something better.
Because our limited vision of what's possible really is small compared to what the universe can bring us when we just let go. At least have, you know, a starting point, you know, and then be open to more or something better.
Absolutely. And to release the outcome. So, or something better is part of that, on the positive side of that. But sometimes, not sometimes, usually when I make something clear to my higher power that I desire, it comes from left field. It doesn't come from the channel that I think it's going to.
Yes.
But it does come.
Yes.
Yeah. So to be open for that and to acknowledge that when it happens. And I usually do something just physical to acknowledge. I will stop and I will nod and I will say thank you and smile. That is like an acknowledgement. It not only acknowledges to that higher power, I assume that he, she, they are watching, but also to myself. So it's a reminder that abundance is always available if I'm willing to ask and receive and then acknowledge.
Yeah, exactly. And the receiving, being open to receiving is so key here. Because we can say our mind, our egoic mind can say, yes, I want this, I want that. But if we're not in alignment with receiving, then we're not going to receive it because there's some sort of a subconscious block to that.
And there's ways to release those blocks, which we've talked about in the past many times. You know, there's when we feel like there's a block and we can feel it in our body. And if we really think about where there's tightness or like pain in our body, that's usually it's because of a block.
Yeah.
Have an energy block. And yes, there's medical things too, but I really believe everything is energy.
Yeah.
So it all comes from some sort of a block.
Yeah.
When we look back at medical conditions, we can usually see that there's a block. And there's this little sheet that we got, you and I both did the Health Coach Institute. Did you do the Health Coach?
No, I didn't. No.
I did. And there was this little handout that they gave us, and it's called Woundology. Are you familiar with that one?
I have heard of it. Yeah.
And so it's just a little cheat sheet. So for example, if the tightness is in your neck, the question is, who or what is being a pain in the neck in your life?
Mm-hmm.
Which is interesting that I have to have neck surgery because I've got, discs and, issues with that. It's like, so there's obviously somebody or something being a pain in the neck in my life. And so it's just a way to sort of take that thing that we have in our body and to look further into it, and acknowledge that more than likely it's coming from this source here. And there's something there that I need to release in one way or the other.
Yes, and you're talking my language here. I'm very big about the body mind connection, and that's great that you have that little reference point. I know, or book. I know that Louise Hay, she has a small booklet about that as well, and she was actually one of the first people that I learned about that stuff from. But also, there's a huge, it's my reference book. It's the Metaphysical Anatomy, by Yvette Rose. Your Body is Talking, Are You Listening? She has the adult and the child's version. And I also have worked with other teachers and mentors that teach all about that exact thing. And since you talked about that, if you don't mind, I want to share a story, because I didn't share this with you before we talked, because we had so much to get caught up on. Because something, it's been a really emotional 2 weeks for me. And because I'll just say my dad was in the hospital, and it was scary for a while. And that brought up a lot of stuff for me to take a look at. I got triggered. And I have had, for as long as I can remember, right between my shoulder blades, one of my vertebrae it's like the muscle around it or something, but it's been really tight and it's bothered me forever. And I go to the chiropractor. I've been going to the chiropractor since I was a kid. And that part of my spine just never gets repositioned properly. I had this incredible releasing moment, releasing some very old pain. And we're talking like from 50 years ago. And I felt this little twinge right there in my back.
Mm.
And I was like, that didn't feel really comfortable, but there's something shifting here. That part, that vertebrae, that area is no longer blocked.
Wow. You did
It was
because the back and the shoulders, what I remember from woundology is that some burden that you're carrying that's not yours.
Well, it was an emotional burden.
Mhm.
That's for sure. It's a massive emotional burden.
Mhm.
It's also in the back of your heart. And I've also been told by other people who are really good at seeing things that I had a block in the back of my heart. And I have consciously, gone in and tried to do some work on it. But we don't heal something until we're ready to heal it.
Mm.
And obviously that was my time. And it is just, I check in with myself multiple times a day. It's like, that doesn't bother me anymore. Because it wasn't anything that hurt. It was just like a discomfort,
Yeah.
And so the next day, it was, if what it felt like was like my muscles were learning how to adjust themselves around that spot. Because
Mhm.
I've been to the chiropractor and they have to use their little shocky thing to try to loosen up the muscle around there, and it just doesn't really want to cooperate. But it it was I'll call it a miracle. It was an instant healing, and it was it was all emotionally based
Yeah.
from 50 years ago.
Well, I'm so happy that it released for you. So now you don't have that pain and tightness there anymore.
No,
But mostly, I'm grateful that you were able to release the emotion that was so hard on you. Yeah.
it was massive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Beautiful. It's just, yeah, miracles do happen. We call them miracles, but we're involved with it.
Mhm.
We are involved. We have to do the work
Yeah.
to allow that to happen. Sometimes the work looks like just being instead of doing.
Yeah. And what I have now is an abundance of movement.
An abundance of movement.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Talk about abundance. I mean, but when I think of abundance, it's not just money. It's but money does help, but it's like freedom, being able to move our bodies. Um, when I work with clients that are my age-ish, those are the things that they talk about. That is their big motivating factor in life, is to be able to move their body up until an old age and be comfortable doing that.
Yeah.
That comes up when we dig really deep. Freedom comes up. It's not money that comes up as their big motivating factor. It is the things that money can give you.
Yeah.
Whether it's, the physical therapy that you need to pay for in order to, make that happen, or the money that freedom can give you to be able to retire at a certain age and, enjoy traveling and seeing the world, things like that. It's not money itself. So those things obviously can come without money too, if we work on it. And that's what you did right there. The freedom to move.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, so this is like obviously a fun topic to talk about because it's so positive and exciting, and the possibilities are endless, and I love that. And the creativity that comes from this topic as well makes me giddy. So awesome. Well, is there any closing thoughts that you'd like to share with the audience today, Wendy? You've had a long couple of weeks. I'm really grateful to hear that your dad is in a good place now. I've been with my dad when he was ill in the past too, and I know it's a heavy burden, and a lot of emotions do come up with that. But he seems like he's really happy right now, and that gives you a little bit of freedom too, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. Yes. Uh, yeah. So thank you for acknowledging that about him. Any parting words on abundance? Be open to receiving. Decide what it is that you desire. Know that you deserve it. Know that you are worthy. Know that, there's the expression, the world is your oyster. We've been conditioned to keep ourselves small and to not dream big. Start dreaming big and decide what it is that would make you really happy. And then clear out whatever you need to clear out, energetically, emotionally, spiritually, to allow that to come to you and just really live in that abundance that you so deserve.
Beautiful. I love that so much. The deserving. Yes, knowing that you're enough to receive.
Yeah.
So beautiful.
Yeah.
And I just want to say too, along the way, celebrate the little benchmarks. Don't just wait for the end result, but celebrate along the way. That's where joy comes from. It's little pieces of joy along the journey. It's not just a destination. It is the journey itself. So the journey to abundance, like saving money on a nice big juicer that you wanted, for example. Celebrate, share.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to share in that with you. Joy is contagious. No
Yes.
matter how small the abundance may seem, it's abundance.
Yeah.
It's a gift. And that's part of the acknowledging, I think, is even if I'm by myself, I'll jump up and down and I'll squeal. That's a celebration.
Yeah. That's great.
All right. Thank you so much, Wendy. I love talking with you. Your energy is amazing. And I really appreciate you. So, and we appreciate all of you out there that are listening and watching us here on Lightweavings Podcast on YouTube and the podcast apps. If you would subscribe, it helps the podcast reach more people, and we really appreciate that. And share. Please do share with others that you feel like may need this message today, or for whatever reason. We just want you to share it. So thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you, Dawn. I love and appreciate you. And I thank you to everybody who's watching and listening. We really appreciate and love you too. So thank you so much.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.